Good afternoon. Hi. Thanks for being with us today. I'm Joan Winsenson. I'm with the organization Conquer Myasthenia Gravis. I'm excited that we're offering this session today. I think it's a great topic, timely, and the people that we have to address the issues are fantastic and well versed and are passionate about it as well. So the webinar is called Wellness Now: How to Own Your Health in a COVID-19 World. And before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. This platform is called GoToWebinar. You'll see on the right, there's a column, a box, and there's a couple of things I want to point out. For one thing, everyone who's attending is muted so that just so that we don't hear the background clatter of things going on in your home. The discussion we're aiming for is about 30 minutes, and then we'll take some questions if you have them. You can ask a question by, if you look at the column on the right, there's a section called chat. And if you look at that, there's a place, oops, as I disappear, a place to type. It says type message here. And so you'll want to, you can add that, and like right now, I'll just say, and send that to, oops, and I just sent it to the organizers only. So, and to, anyway, your question goes to the panelists and the organizers. So that's us. Okay, we're recording this session, so you'll be able to see it later on too on our YouTube channel. If for some reason you want to refer back to it. Okay, so our panelists, to get us started, we're hoping to start with a question to learn a little bit more about where you're coming from. And the question is, what does it mean to own your health? Now, I'm going to give you three answers, A, B, and C. And if you could, type in your A's, B's, and C's to us, and we'll kind of get a handle on where you stand with how you feel about this question. So the question is, again, what does it mean to own your health? Does it mean A, I'm actively participating in staying healthy through my lifestyle? Does it mean B, I'm following the doctor's recommendations? Or is it C, I'm not sure what own your health means? And you'll see that up on the screen. Give you a couple minutes there. Okay. And Carissa, are we seeing the answers there? Do you know? Can you tell?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, they're coming in. We have 62% in, so I'm just going to give it another probably 20 seconds here, and then I will go ahead and close the poll.
Thanks. Okay, so we've got 63% of you are actively participating and trying to stay healthy through your own lifestyle, and 19% are following doctor's recommendations, and then we've got 19 who are not quite sure what it means to own your health. So I hope that helps Maria and Dr. Rowan shape what they can respond to us. Thanks, Carissa. Okay, okay, great. Okay, well, with that, let's get started with our session. I'm excited to introduce our two panelists. On my left, at least, I'm seeing Julie Rowan in the red, Dr. Julie Rowan, MD, and then on our right is Maria Zepeda. Maria is a National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. Welcome to both of you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Joan.
Yeah. Okay, to get us started, our first question is that what we'd like to know from you is, Why is this topic so important? What did you see in your professional or your personal life that really shaped your thinking? And if we could start with Dr. Rowan.
Sure. I think owning your health during COVID pandemic is super important. So I feel like I'm hearing about all the negative aspects of COVID, and I feel like we're inundated with this. And what I don't hear, and what kind of disappoints me, is all that we can do to improve our health, because it's crucial during this time, right? Take measures to improve our own immune health, and there's a lot of things we can talk about today, and also to help out our mental health. So yeah, and I've seen these strategies work with myself, with my family, with my patients over the years. So it's not all about the medications. It's not all about staying home and waiting for a vaccine. I mean, there's things we can do today.
Right. Maria, what would you add? What happened in your life that kind of turned the switch? Or
Well, actually, it was because of the fact that I decided to go from being a passive patient to actually taking responsibility for my health and applying a lot of these principles, is that I actually regained my health and got healthier as a result. So it's near and dear to my heart, and that's why I want to share it with people.
yeah. So it's your own experience has inspired you to go beyond.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really believe, I had to prove it to myself, and first was to take responsibility.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Rowan, would you explain what's meant by the term wellness?
Okay, so wellness to me is really a quest for wholeness. What I mean by that, it's a quest for optimal wellness, not only in your body, but in your mind and in your spirit. So it's about living your life to the fullest and having the tools to do so. Basically, your health is the foundation for your life. So it kind of always kind of irks me when I hear from my patients, well, my doctor told me that my diet doesn't really matter as far as my X, Y, and Z autoimmune disease. And I'm kind of flabbergasted because I'm like, of course, I mean, this wellness is your foundation for your whole life. So it's going to help everything. And if your life includes a chronic medical condition, it's going to help that too. So, in wellness, we talk a lot about healing versus in conventional medicine, we're always looking for the cure, right? A fight for the cure. And, that's great. I would like a cure too, but maybe what's more possible is to heal on an aspect of spirit, body, and mind.
How does this get wrapped up with immune health?
Well, wellness strategies affect all health, including immune health. Your immune system is made up of cells, just like the rest of your body, and we know from science that your gut health is connected to your immune health, your mental health is connected to your gut health, your hormones are connected to your immune health. It's all one big system. So you can't, you can think about it as, well, if I'm feeding my body toxins and processed food and negative thinking, when we know all these things are connected, how is that affecting my immune health?
Why is immune health and all general health important during the pandemic?
Well, it's always important, but I mean, right now it's posing particular stresses, I think. So people, I mean, we know the determinants of disease, and it seems like during the pandemic right now, they're all exaggerated. The prolonged stress, the social isolation, the lack of physical activity, the poor dietary habits. It seems kind of like a cultural norm. And, I just wanted, I wanted to talk about that today because I think we need to kind of switch our thinking.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons a lot of people are on, I want to give one shout out to MG and have you address that, because a lot of people who are on today have myasthenia gravis. So does the pandemic pose a bigger threat to me, for instance, because I have myasthenia gravis, or to any of us who have my MG or an autoimmune disease?
Yeah, right. It's a great question because I think there's misconceptions here a little bit. People, I find with my patients, because I see a lot of myasthenia patients, that they think because they have myasthenia that they're at a bigger risk. So I want to clear it up. Having an autoimmune disease doesn't mean you're at a bigger threat to COVID in and of itself. Of course, where the issues rise is if you have, for example, uncontrolled disease. So if your myasthenia isn't controlled and you have respiratory muscle weakness or swallowing problems, that could definitely lead to having trouble fighting off an infection, right, or fighting off a pneumonia. So right there, that's a concern. And that's why we're saying stay on your medicine, keep your disease under control. Super important. Theoretically, immunosuppressants may leave you at higher risk for a more serious infection or a more prolonged infection. So if you're on higher doses of prednisone or Imuran, Cellcept, rituximab, this might, and we don't have clear data on this, but it just makes sense that if you're on immunosuppression, that you might have trouble getting over a viral illness. And thirdly, and this ties into what we're talking about today, is if you have significant other illnesses that are comorbidities. And we see that a lot in myasthenia because we use higher doses of prednisone. So a lot of times people will end up developing weight gain, diabetes type 2, hypertension from the side effects of the prednisone. So, but like, I want to stress that these are modifiable risk factors. So they may lead you to be under a bigger threat to COVID, but there are steps we can take to help to reverse these things.
Okay. One of the things we talked about ahead of time was some of the things that you started to touch on, Julie. Can you sort out for us specific challenges that the pandemic poses to wellness? Why don't you toss out one, and then we'll kind of switch over to Maria, who's more the hands-on how to respond to that.
Well, something I really concerns myself because I know social isolation is a big predictor of disease. We know that. I mean, we've seen studies that show loneliness is, and I'm not talking specifically about myasthenia because no one's looked at that, but loneliness and feelings of loneliness have maybe even a stronger risk factor for heart disease than obesity, to put it in perspective.
Wow.
So that's something that really concerns me because there's some kind of this social distancing is kind of moving into emotional distancing and emotional isolation.
Maria, well, kind of Dr. Rowan and Maria, what do you encourage people to do to respond to that, or to minimize risks of that?
Well, specifically, so for social isolation, given the audience that we have a very educated audience that's already doing a lot of the things to help their health. I would say, elevate your self-practice to even more so to strengthen your immune system. Continue doing what you're doing right now. For some, it just depends on where you are at in your program. If you don't know where to start with taking care of your health, start with the basics. Modifying your diet, introducing healthier foods, and surrounding yourself with people that support you. Probably are the two most important things. For others, if you are already into your program, I would say, come up with creative ideas to socialize. Pick up the phone, call people instead of texting, and most importantly, turn off the news. The news is a really negative effect on our health, on our mindset, and go out for a walk. Enjoy when we can, obviously. And those things will help you a lot and keep your mindset, stay positive, and get the essential vitamin D that we need. Any of these things will help you, do well in this time.
Okay. Dr. Rowan, would you add anything else? Especially about social isolation, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because even, I don't like to go to Zoom parties, but I am really trying to get creative with staying in close contact with the people I really care about and who are uplifting and support me in my decisions. If at all possible, meet people 6 feet apart, Definitely pick up the phone. Have a Zoom game party, make an effort, because I think it's real important right now that we don't start getting too used to this.
Yeah.
But the key element is definitely to reach out and communicate with people.
Right.
Yeah. Reach out and talk to somebody and call people and meet in person, definitely.
Silly question, but even like writing letters. I mean, sometimes I'm mentally with someone when I'm communicating my thoughts to them even. Okay.
Yeah, in terms of email, well, I mean, mail probably right now, people are not going to be receptive of getting an actual letter in the mail, just obviously because of all the fears of that, but definitely, emailing them or doing something to communicate.
Great. Going back to Dr. Rowan, I think stress was another thing you mentioned. Why don't you fill us in a little bit about the effects of the pandemic with that?
Okay, so we know, and there is some literature as far as autoimmune disease, and even with MG, there was an article that came out in JAMA several years ago that linked autoimmune disease to prolonged stress. So I only have to believe, and I do because I see it all the time in my patients, that stress also exacerbates your autoimmune disease. So, and a lot of people are under this prolonged stress and elevated cortisol, which is a health determinant.
Yeah.
So certainly there's a lot we can do, even though I know it's a difficult time for a lot of people. Yeah. But certainly there's a lot we can do to counteract the physical and emotional aspects of stress.
Maria, you want to speak to some de-stressors?
So handling and coping stress is very important. Definitely agree that it affects and impacts your health. I can speak to that personally. One thing is to find something that helps you cope with it. So one of the big things is that people think that stress is going to go away. There's always stress. It's just a matter of how much you want to minimize it. And you can. And things that can help you, depending on your personality and lifestyle, meditation. You mentioned writing. Journaling is a big distressor for people. There's also walking. You could do that, or even exercise. I know we're talking to MG patients, but there is some low impact exercises that we can do that will help us lower some of that level of stress.
Dr. Rowan, stuff to add?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I often run up against resistance when I talk to my patients about self-care. It's almost like people think it's a waste of time, or it's not productive, or I'm not worth having a massage, or maybe it's not a perfect time for a massage, but you get the point. I mean, it's just really important to set aside that time for yourself, and whatever works for you, like what Maria was saying, maybe it's a gratitude journal, maybe it's just starting to meditate, maybe it's working on some quiet breathing or prayer. But give yourself that time, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time. It can be 5 minutes, starting with 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, but it's not at all time wasted. You'll see the benefits in all the other aspects of your life when you start giving yourself time, unproductive time.
And one thing I'll add to that is that it's really important for us to accept that we are stressed, because a lot of people think that there's a negative connotation obviously to stress. Just accepting the fact that we're in this situation and acknowledging it is a matter of distressing. So I would add to that.
Fantastic. Okay, the next thing I have on my list that we'd mentioned earlier that was overeating and the COVID-19 and food issues. Dr. Rowan, you want to get us started with how that plays
Yeah,
in?
it seems to be like funny now, right? Like, how much are you overeating? This is like all I'm hearing. Like, I ate the whole cheesecake this weekend. Oh, I'm like, okay. So there's a huge connection between what we eat and our immune system. So what we eat and all the other stress reduction techniques that we're talking about directly affect our gut microbiome. And we know that our gut microbiome talks not only to our immune system, but to our nervous system and our brain. And they know when we're eating junk food, right? Because we actually grow more bacteria that like sugar or whatever. Like we cultivate the bacteria depending on what we're eating. So the more junk food or sugar that you're eating, the more bad bacteria you get, the more that communicates with your immune system and also with your brain to still like send down more junk food. It's an addicting cycle. And so, I'd like to see us start concentrating a little bit more on improving that. Because there's most Americans have a big nutrient gap. It's really common not to be getting enough vegetables, right? Not to be getting enough fiber, not to be getting omega-3s, and being low on vitamin D. So these things are almost like across the board that I see, and they're all necessary for normal immune function. So, you can start just by making sure you're eating a rainbow color, all the colors of the vegetables every day, getting your good omega-3s, meaning fatty fish, walnuts, get your vitamin D, either through more sun exposure or most people still need a supplement. Because food is medicine. Okay, number one, food is medicine. And number two, food is mood. So everybody's stressed and anxious and getting depressed, and there's a huge association between what we eat and our mood. So that's my 2 cents.
Maria, what do you want to add?
So all of those are good points. I would say that the easiest way to not overindulge is don't have it readily available. Don't buy it. Don't put it in your house so that you're not tempted. And also try to, when you're about to reach for it, take a pause and ask yourself, am I really hungry? Or am I bored? Or am I stressed? Or am I anxious? Why do I feel like having this? And maybe just take a couple of breaths, and you may be surprised to find out that and you're not hungry, and you don't want it. So do something else. And so that's something that can help you right away. Also, water consumption is very important because we don't consume enough water throughout the day, and sometimes we mistake being hungry for being thirsty. And so you want to do that. chew your food at least 20 times to give your brain enough time to understand that it's not hungry anymore. And that's something that we can do on a daily basis, and just to kind of curb the appetite, if you will. And once you start getting used to eating the healthier foods, your body will react to having some of the more sugary items, if you will. And it'll take some time, so don't give up. Just be very patient.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dr. Rowan, what's so bad about junk food?
Yeah, so, there's so many chemicals and unidentified substances, and there's a lot of answers to this question, but let's just talk it from a chemical standpoint. Your immune system doesn't recognize these chemicals. I mean, we didn't evolve eating chemicals. So, and what I'm talking about is all the additives, preservatives, coloring, pesticides, herbicides, and now they're doing all this sort of other food science to the food. So think about it like you eat a chemical and your immune system has to go after that because they don't know what it is. They think it's it could be a virus or something else. So you're occupying your immune system to get rid of the toxins. So I'm just going to call them toxins because to me it's not food, but so the toxins, actually suppress your immune system. They make it less functional. That's one, but I mean, there's others because a lot of them have really high glycemic index. So you go back to the sugar argument again and the bad gut bacteria, and you have that argument.
Okay.
And overall, what that does is that it creates a lot of inflammation in your body long term, and that's where you start feeling sick.
That's what inflammation is, right? That's your immune system trying to rid your body of those chemicals.
Right. And when it's chronic, it's when you manifest symptoms for different diseases that start having problems. And that's why you want to avoid introducing those kinds of food or stop consuming them, because you're mistaking your gut inflammation or your body inflammation for something else.
Okay, we're getting close to the end of the half hour. And I still want to make sure we address a couple of things. Not being active. That's certainly one of the things we're dealing with the pandemic. Who wants to tackle that? Why that's so bad, and how we can improve things?
I mean, it's so not being able to not go outside is not an excuse not to do anything. Because there's all sorts of things that we could do at home. As an myasthenic, before I used to not do anything because I thought I couldn't, because I thought that I would get tired out really easily. And honestly, I used it as an excuse. And so when I became aware of that, I started doing as little as possible. Something is better than nothing. And right now, movement is very important for our bodies because it's a healing process. Our bodies can heal themselves, and if we move our bodies, we're actually releasing healing properties in our body. And so that's why movement is so important for us to do. And we can walk around the house 10 times. 20 times next time, who knows? But doing something is very, very critical for our health.
Dr. Rowan, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely everything Maria says. I mean, exercise is the fountain of youth. I mean, it's all we have as far as that's concerned, and the benefits are far-reaching. I mean, there's evidence that exercise helps your immune health, helps your mental health, And everything counts, right? Like Maria said, cleaning your house counts, walking your dog counts, washing the windows counts. Do what you can.
Mm-hmm.
Because being sedentary is really a pro-inflammatory condition.
Mm-hmm. And I think the message for MG patients has shifted over time too. I mean, we're hearing much more about get moving and it's okay to do that compared to 10, 20 years ago.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's actually more important for us because for us myasthenics, because we have to use those muscles, because those muscles were actually strengthened by actually using them, as opposed to not using them. And those are the muscles that we need to work for us.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. One of the last questions. Do either of you have a role model that you would mention, a person that's helped you understand why this stuff is so important? Or
Well, I mean, I can just say that I guess I have many role models, and I learn most of this from my patients. I wasn't taught any of this in medical school. I hope they're teaching more about wellness and the science behind it in medical school now, but I really had to learn it on my own and from my patients. And I'm always like, if they're telling me they're better, I'm just like, what did you do? Like, tell me, because that's how I learn. So they're my heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Maria, any person that?
Likewise, I think everybody that has taken responsibility for their health and has taken being proactive in doing what they can to heal themselves, I just look up to. I know so many people that in the past, were scared to do anything about it, but they had the courage to do something. And that to me is inspiring. And there's so many people, that have done that.
Yeah.
So that's motivation for people to realize that you can actually do something for yourself.
Yeah. It's exciting when that light bulb goes on and you just feel like, oh, I can do this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have, Dr. Rowan, any resources? Well, I'll point to one resource that you've given us, and that's on our website. You've given us a post about eating the rainbow, about all kinds of ways to boost your personal immunity in different steps. So that's on our website. Are there other resources that you would point us to?
Well, there are free resources on my website too, JulieRowanMD.com. And I have things unblocked right now that used to be password protected, but you can go on and look at the nutritional plans, and there's smoothie recipes and facts about eating safe fish and facts about prebiotic and probiotic foods, and you can go there and download them now.
Maria, any resources that you say, oh, that was helpful?
Oh my God, there's so many. But I too also have, you can go to my website to healthyheartcoaching.com. And if you sign up, I actually have a free ebook about the gut, which I think is like the most element. The first element to healing yourself is about healing your gut. And it actually has action steps that you can take and start implementing today. And it's also free. So that's one place to start.
Okay. That kind of summarizes the questions we were hoping to talk about. I'm going to point we got one earlier today, and pointing that one to Dr. Rowan. Let me see if I can find it, and if not, do you remember what the wording was exactly?
I have it.
Oh, good.
How about if you were on an immunosuppressant like Rituxan, which has lowered my IgA, IgM, IgG levels to critical. My doctor said to self-quarantine for the indefinite future if at all possible. I work from home, so that helps. I do have a great family and friend support system. I'm interested in better diet suggestions that boost the immune system.
So the question is that she's interested in better diet suggestions. Is that the question?
If you're immunosuppressant, what are some diet suggestions to boost the immune system?
Yeah, so again, maybe I'll refer you back to what Joan said, that blog. They have it on their website about eating the rainbow, about getting your vitamin D, about getting fatty fish and fish oil, about getting your fiber and prebiotic and probiotic foods. It's all good advice for anyone, including if you're on immunosuppression. So yeah, either the Conquer MG website or my website, you can find that information.
Mhm.
Carissa, were there other questions that came in?
Yes, and just I don't want to butcher any of these words. If all of the questions, just so you know, are under the webcam where it says questions, in case you wanted to personally read them. Someone said, I find it confusing to hear that MG patients need to boost their immune system while many of us are on immunosuppressants. Sounds counterintuitive. Any comments?
Yeah, I think that we throw around all these terms like strong immune system, weak immune system, boost immune system, and it's not really how it works. Yeah, so what we want is a smarter immune system. We want to be able to turn it on when we need to, like if we have a virus, but we don't want to keep it on all the time and have it be pro-inflammatory and attacking our neuromuscular junctions, you know. So a lot of times I use the word smarter immune system, just because of that. It's kind of confusing, but I understand where the mix-up is. Because when you have MG, you don't have obviously you don't have a weak immune system. You're put on immunosuppressants, but so with the food, we're just trying to make it smarter, not necessarily, you know, stronger or I think it's just we don't have the right words to describe it because it's a complicated balance, your immune system. It's we're trying to balance it. We're trying to make it do the right thing at the right time and have what it needs in order to perform optimally. Yeah, but that's a great question because I think that's confusing.
Yeah. And Carissa, I'm not seeing the questions. So
Okay, I can read it. The
Okay.
next one's long, so slow me down if you need. I'm concerned, this is from someone that's saying, I'm concerned about the current use of disinfectants and cleaning products due to the fear of the coronavirus. My goal for many years has been to reduce my exposure to disinfectants and maintain my home as a non-toxic environment. We should not be adding anything to our environment that is not safe enough to eat. Many of these chemicals are known to interfere with the development of their neurological, endocrine, and immune systems. Are these products really safer for us than possible exposure to a virus? Since we don't believe we are ever going to kill this virus, are we really just creating a super virus with all this cleaning and quarantining?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think we are using a lot more toxins in our environment. Okay, so the way I address that is I try to discuss with people how they are detoxifying. Well, first of all, what's the quality of your indoor air? You know, there's this misconception between staying home and staying inside. So indoor air quality, especially if we are using a lot of cleaners, is not the best. So at least ventilate. Make sure you have amazing ventilation. Open, it's nice, at least around here now. Open the doors, windows, but most of all, get outside and get fresh air. Because we want to think about what the body needs to detoxify, right? And we want to make sure that we're doing that. And so again, we go back to the fresh air. We go back to drinking plenty of water. We say half your body weight in ounces a day. Fresh filtered water. Put aside the alcoholic beverages and the sugar beverages and drink water. Also, the fiber is super important because you should be having bowel movements 1 to 3 times a day. Again, this is getting rid of toxins in your body. So bowel movements, hydration, if you can, sweating. So if you're able to, exercise to the point of sweating. This is also going to help you. So there's a lot more toxins in our environment, not just in the home, but they're doing lots of cleaning in the stores as well. So, I mean, this is how I'm handling it, is to make sure people know how to detoxify, and that's ramp up your cruciferous vegetables, meaning like broccoli, cauliflower, all these things that help your body detoxify. There's foods that help with that. So, yeah, it's a great question. I appreciate it.
All I would add to that is try to use soap and water throughout the day if you're at home, instead of using the Lysol or the wipes or whatever. You know, switch to soap and water as opposed to the disinfectant.
Great. Carissa, what's next?
Next question is, Maria, can you say what your website is again?
HealthyHeartCoaching.com.
You kind of cut out there. What was that?
HealthyHeartCoaching.com.
All right, great, thanks. Next question. Well, it's more of a comment. I also read that people with autoimmune will react to COVID differently than others. So I don't know if, is that true?
Just with autoimmune disease and nothing else, like no comorbidities, no immunosuppressants, no other factors, depending, I mean, there's a lot of other factors that could play into this, but I don't know of any data to support that if you have autoimmune disease that if that's the only factor, that you're more at risk. But there's always other factors. That's the thing.
Right.
Okay. I think that was it.
Great, great. Okay, we are just about, we're close to the end of time. not the end of time totally, but that's not the case. Any final comments from, I'll start with Dr. Rowan. Anything final that you'd want to share?
Oh, that was really great questions. I was really happy to be here and talk about these really important issues. So thanks so much for having me.
Great, you're welcome. Maria.
Yeah, and I'll echo that too. Thank you for the participants that joined us. It shows that you're very interested in taking care of your health, and I encourage you to continue on that path. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer them offline. And thank you for being here, and thank you for having me, John.
You're welcome. Yeah, I appreciate it very much. I think as a follow-up, we'll be sending out a link to people who registered, repeating what those websites are and some of those sources, and we'll also be asking if you have another topic that's on your mind that you really want addressed. So thank you very much for being here today, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks.
Have a good afternoon.
Bye.